Sitting is an extreme sport for your spine. If you work at a desk for 8 hours a day, you're not relaxed. You're loading your spine the way a heavy lifter loads a barbell, repeatedly, quietly, and over years. Welcome. I'm Alice, a kinesiologist and spine specialist. Today, I'll flip the script on desk life. You aren't lazy or fragile. You're simply asking your body to do something it wasn't designed to do for 8 hours straight. I call this the desk athlete paradox. Low movement, extreme load. If your neck aches, your glutes feel dead, or your back texts you with pain at 3 p.m., this video is for you. Let's start with the physics. When you stand, your spine holds a gentle S-curve, cervical curve up top, thoracic curve in the middle, lumbar curve at the bottom. Sitting changes that geometry. The S flattens, and often becomes a forward-bent C. Think of it like turning a spring into a shrimp. The natural shock absorber gets folded and can't do its job. Here's a key number. The sitting load. Sitting puts about 40% more pressure on the lumbar discs than standing. That's not an opinion. It's how the mechanics add up. Imagine every hour you spend sitting amplifies compression through the discs in your lower back. That extra pressure doesn't always cause instant pain. Instead, it causes tiny micro-traumas, minuscule tears and micro-injuries to the annulus, the tough ring of the disc. Over weeks, months, and years, those micro-traumas accumulate. The disc dehydrates. The inner gel, nucleus, can bulge, and the vertebrae start to bear load in places they shouldn't. Clinically, that accumulation is why people in their 30s and 40s report weird things. Morning stiffness that eases after you move, a nagging ache when you sit too long, or a flare of sciatica when you stand up too quickly. These are not normal aches of aging. They're predictable outcomes of putting extra mechanical load on an underprepared spine. You might think, I'll just stretch more. And yes, movement helps. But there's a deeper issue. Misalignment plus compression. When the spine is held in that C-curve under load, muscles, ligaments, and discs adapt to the wrong shape. That's why quick fixes often fail, because they don't address the altered mechanics that keep the problem alive. If you're watching this and thinking, that's me, I get it. I've treated programmers, remote managers, and creative leads who felt guilty about their pain. The relief isn't about blame. It's about understanding the force vectors on your spine and giving your body the space and mechanics to recover. In the next section, I'll map exactly what breaks down: hips, glutes, neck, and why. Then I'll show you why generic stretching fails and what to do instead. Targeted decompression moves you can do at your desk. Ready? Let's peel back the layers. Now that you know sitting reshapes the spine from an S into a stressed C, let's zoom in on exactly what breaks down. I'll walk you through 3 linked systems: the lower body, hips and amp, pelvis; the upper body, neck and amp, thoracic; and the glute factor. How a turned-off butt makes your lower back pay the bill. First, the pelvis. Sitting habitually shortens your hip flexors, the iliopsoas, rectus femoris. Over months, they tighten and pull the pelvis into an anterior pelvic tilt. Think of the front of the pelvis dipping forward like the nose of a boat. That forward tilt increases lumbar lordosis in standing or flattens the lumbar curve while sitting. Either way, it changes load distribution. The net effect: the anterior portion of the lumbar discs is compressed and the posterior annulus gets stressed. The discs lose height, the vertebrae come closer together, and the facet joints start to carry more load. Clinically, you'll see tight hip flexors, a tucked or poking abdomen, and low back stiffness when you stand up after sitting. Simple test. Lie on your back. If your lower back won't lie flat because your hip can't extend, that's a hint your hip flexor is tight and the pelvis is anteriorly tilted. Second, the neck. Tech neck isn't just a catchy phrase, it's physics. For every inch your head sits forward of the neutral ear-over-shoulder line, the effective weight on your cervical spine increases by about 10 pounds. So that smartphone posture, or leaning into screens, multiplies the force the cervical discs, joints, and posterior muscles must resist. The deep neck flexors fatigue, the posterior neck extensors and upper trapezius tighten, and stress migrates into the shoulders and even the head, producing tension headaches. When the cervical segments are overloaded, they become stiff and misaligned. Nerves that exit the spine can become irritated. Muscles around the shoulder girdle compensate, leading to trigger points that radiate pain into the head, jaw, and shoulder blade. People describe this as migraines or shoulder pain. But at its core, it's mechanical. Now the piece that ties hips and low back together, the glutes. Sitting keeps your gluteal muscles shortened and inactive. Over time, they forget how to fire properly, a phenomenon often called glute amnesia or dead butt syndrome. Mechanically, this is aided by reciprocal inhibition. Tight hip flexors send inhibitory signals that reduce glute activation. If the glutes won't activate during walking, standing, or bending, the lumbar extensors and hamstrings escalate their work to create hip extension. That extra demand pulls on the lumbar spine and increases repetitive shear and compression. The practical outcome: weak glutes equals poor shock absorption through the hips, so the spine absorbs more force. Walking, climbing stairs, even lifting a cup can load the lumbar discs abnormally. Over months, the spine responds by stiffening segments, forming bone spurs and inflamed facet joints. That's how a desk habit becomes persistent sciatica, or chronic lower back pain. So that's the anatomy of decay. Tight hips tilt the pelvis and crush the lower discs. A forward head adds heavy load to the neck, and shut-down glutes force the low back to overwork. The good news is, these are mechanical problems, and mechanical problems can be changed. Next, we'll cover why generic stretching often misses the mark, and what kind of decompression and targeted reactivation your spine actually needs. All right, you've probably been told to stretch more and loosen up. That advice isn't wrong, it's just incomplete. In many cases, it's not only ineffective, it can make things worse. Here's the core issue. Stretching changes muscle length, but most desk problems are about spinal alignment and compression. If the vertebrae are held together under compressive load, the discs are flattened, the facet joints pinch. Lengthening one muscle won't restore joint spacing or correct the mechanical load bearing through the spine. Another key idea: muscles often tighten to protect a misaligned or compressed spine. That tightness is a defensive strategy. The body is bracing to limit painful motion. If you forcefully stretch a guarding muscle while the joint beneath is still misaligned, the nervous system can react with increased spasm. That's why more stretching sometimes leads to more pain. Generic programs, 30-second holds, long downward dogs, or endless hamstring pulls treat the symptom, tightness, but not the cause: segmental compression and altered motor control. Two people with low back pain can have opposite problems. One needs hip mobility, the other needs spinal decompression and glute activation. The same stretch can help one and hurt the other. When a nerve is irritated by disc bulge or narrowed foramina, aggressive stretching can tug on the nerve root, increasing radicular symptoms like tingling or sciatica. Passive stretches that increase neural tension, straight leg raises, deep hamstring pulls without spinal posture control, can inadvertently reproduce nerve pain. Think of it this way. If a stack of books is leaning and compressed, pulling at the bottom book's bookmark, stretching a muscle, won't straighten the stack. You need to create space in the stack so each book returns to its correct alignment. For the spine, that means targeted decompression and restoring proper motor patterns, not just passive lengthening. So what does work? 2 pillars. 1. Decompression, creating intervertebral space so discs can rehydrate and nerves can breathe. And 2. Neuromuscular re-education, teaching the glutes, deep neck flexors, and core stabilizers to fire in the correct sequence. Together, they change the mechanics, not just the feel. Timing is critical. You don't want to try maximal glute activation when the vertebrae are jammed. The muscle will compensate poorly. Instead, use gentle positional decompression first, then progressively load the system while retraining firing patterns. This staged approach reduces spasms and promotes durable change. In short, generic stretching is a band-aid. The spine needs space, and your nervous system needs new instructions. Up next, I'll introduce targeted spinal release, the decompression-focused method that addresses alignment first, then reactivates the muscles that keep your spine safe. Okay, now for what actually moves the needle: targeted spinal release. Think of it as a gentle, evidence-informed way to create space inside the spine so the tissues that are starving of nutrients can start to heal, and so the nervous system can stop guarding. Targeted spinal release uses positional unloading and controlled, gentle traction-like maneuvers to slightly separate individual vertebrae at the levels that are jammed or pinching nerves. It's not violent. It's not a pop-and-go crack. It's slow, safe, and specifically aimed at reducing compressive forces so the disc and nerve roots get space to calm down. A quick physiology note. Intervertebral discs are largely avascular. They rely on diffusion and pressure-driven fluid exchange to receive glucose and oxygen and to remove waste. When discs are chronically compressed, that exchange is impaired. By reducing intradiscal pressure even slightly, you improve the conditions for fluid movement and imbibition, the process by which discs rehydrate and receive nutrients. What people often feel right away is reduced nerve tension and less pain. That can happen because the foramina, the holes where nerves exit, widen, and a pinched nerve experiences less mechanical irritation. Medium-term benefits: improved disc hydration, reduced inflammation, and restored segmental motion take days to weeks with consistent practice and adjunctive care. A key domino: decompression reduces nociceptive input, the ouch signal, coming from an irritated disc or joint. When that input drops, the central nervous system relaxes the guarding muscles, the tight bands that were bracing the spine. That drop in guarding is what lets you then teach the right muscles, glutes, deep neck flexors, transverse abdominis, to turn back on without fighting a jammed joint. Here's why the order matters. If you try to retrain a muscle while the joint is mechanically blocked, the nervous system won't encode the new pattern reliably. But if you create temporary space first, then run quick activation drills, the new software installs more easily, and the body keeps the new pattern because the joint now allows the correct motion. This method is the backbone of what I call the back pain breakthrough, a gentle, targeted spinal release protocol pioneered by that combines precise positional decompression with quick neuromuscular re-education. Many patients I work with report meaningful relief when these two elements are combined. Important safety note: targeted decompression is safe when performed correctly, but it's not for everyone. If you have progressive neurological loss, numbness, weakness, fever, unexplained weight loss, or recent trauma, stop and see a clinician. For most desk-related mechanical pain, this protocol is low risk, but start gently and respect your pain thresholds. Next, I'm going to show you 3 desk-friendly moves that put these principles into action. Simple, decompression-friendly positions you can do between meetings, followed immediately by activation drills to lock in the changes. You'll get practical cues, timing, and progression so you can make this a habit, even on busy days. All right, let's put the science into your workday. These are 3 desk-friendly moves that follow the decompress. Activate, integrate logic. Do them once mid-morning and once mid-afternoon, or whenever your body starts to stiffen. Move 1 is a thoracic extension using your chair back. Why? Most seated postures collapse the thoracic spine into kyphosis. Opening the thoracic area reduces compensatory cervical and lumbar strain. How? Sit midway on your chair with feet flat, interlace fingers behind your head, place the upper back against the top edge of the chair back, or a rolled towel. Gently lean back over the chair while keeping your lower ribs down and your pelvis neutral. Breathe in to expand the chest, exhale to soften. Perform 8 to 10 controlled repetitions or 2 and 20-30-second holds. Cue, feel the mid-back opening, not the low back pinching. Progression, use a firm foam roller at the thoracic level while supine for 1 to 2 minutes if you have more time. Regression, if the chair hurts your low back, reduce range and place a small cushion at the sacrum to preserve lumbar neutrality. Stop if you feel sharp pain or radiating symptoms. Move 2 is the chin tuck, the simplest, most powerful neck realignment. Why? For every inch your head shifts forward, you add roughly 10 pounds of effective load to the cervical spine. How? Sit tall, eyes forward. Gently glide your head straight back, do not tilt. Think of stacking the ear over the shoulder. Hold for 3 to 5 seconds, relax, repeat 10 to 15 times. Cue. Feel a light lengthening at the back of the neck and a gentle activation of the deep neck flexors. Breathe normally. After a set of chin tucks, immediately check your monitor position. Raise the top of the screen to eye level if needed. Small environmental tweaks plus this cue produce persistent unloading of the neck during the day. Move 3 targets the hips. The seated piriformis stretch. Why? Tight hips promote anterior pelvic tilt and glute inhibition. How? Sitting tall. Place the ankle of the right leg on the left knee, figure 4. Keep the right knee gently pressed down. Hinge forward from the hips until you feel a stretch in the outer right buttock. Hold 30 to 45 seconds, breathe deeply, then switch sides. Repeat 2 sets each side. Cue. Soften the ribs down, keep lumbar spine neutral. Stretch should be in the hip, not a pinch in the low back. Finish each session with a rapid activation. 5 strong intentional glute squeezes, 3-second hold, or a single slow sit to stand focusing on squeezing the glutes as you stand. This seals in motor pattern changes after decompression and stretching. Safety notes. Keep movements controlled. Don't force range. If you have sharp radiating pain or neurological loss, stop and consult a clinician. Frequency. Aim for the 2 short sessions daily I mentioned. They take about 5 minutes and break the cumulative compression of an 8-hour day. You don't need to quit your job to fix this. You need a repeatable, science-based habit that reduces compression and reteaches the right muscles to do their job. If you want a guided, clinician-designed progression that pairs targeted spinal release with motor control drills, consider checking the clinician protocol I often recommend, the Back Pain Breakthrough by Dr. Steve Young. But these 3 moves are everything you need to start today. Remember, sitting isn't harmless. It's an extreme sport for the spine. But with a little space, a few smart cues, and consistency, you can be the desk athlete who stays strong, mobile, and pain-free. If this helped, like, subscribe, and share with a teammate. See you next time. Quick but important disclaimer before we begin. This video is for educational purposes only and is not medical advice. The exercises and concepts I show are designed for typical desk-related mechanical pain, but every body is different. If you have progressive numbness or weakness, new bowel or bladder changes, unexplained weight loss, fever, or recent trauma, stop now and seek urgent medical care. If you're unsure whether these moves are right for you, consult your primary care physician, a licensed physical therapist, or a spine specialist first. The techniques and clinician protocol I mention, including the Back Pain Breakthrough, developed by Dr. Steve Young, are educational tools and not a substitute for one-on-one medical diagnosis or emergency care. If anything increases your pain or produces new or spreading numbness or weakness, stop immediately and get evaluated. By watching, you agree to use these techniques cautiously and at your own risk.